May I now please call upon Mr. Luke Continue, Dr. H.P. Canario, Canuria, sorry. Dr. Jayaprakash, plastic surgeon and age management UK and Chennai. Okay. Sri Tatwa Mati Dishit, Miss Nimi Chauhan, Miss Geeta Krishnaraj, Miss Hina Nafiz, Miss Manisha Kanoria Lohia, and Mr. Vedant Lohia. We welcome you, sir. I request the MC to please invite the dignitaries for lighting the lamp.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I now request Mr. Vedant Raj Lohia to kindly present floral tokens to our guests. Thank you so much. As with the beginning of all things auspicious, and an occasion as auspicious such as this is, is started with the invocation of Lord Ganesh. May I now request Mrs. Nitya Jagannathan to give us some Vedic verses.
Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannotibhis Siddhasadanam Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Om Prithvi Shanta Sagnina Shanta Sami Shanta Shuchagum Shamayatu Antarikshagum Shantam Tadvayuna Shantan Tanme Shantagum Shuchagum Shamayatu Dyav Shanta Sadityena Shanta Sami Shanta Shuchagum Shamayatu Tayahagum Shantya Sarva Shantya Mahyan Dvipade Chatushpade Cha Shantin Karomi Shantirme Astu Shantihi Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Jagannathan, for the lovely rendition of the Ganesh Vandana. May I now request Dr. H.P. Kanoria to kindly give us the welcome address.
Jai Hind, victory to youth and children. They are the future. To all the Mr. Luke and all the dignity on the dais and in the audience, brothers and sisters. The children have not come so far, but still I remember them. So it is a great pleasure for me to have all you among us. Why this wellness centers is come? because we know that obesity is becoming the great problem in the modern age. We have got so many kinds of foods, and particularly the junk food. We have forgotten our food, which was being given by Dadima, Nanima, or mothers, which have all forgotten. So now, the dietitians and the fitness guru, holistic happiness, who believe in that, they are awakening the parents and the children. Because the parents are also, they don't have the time, and they are thinking that this American food or this food, that food will give more health. So they overfeed the children in their childhood. And particularly, I am not blaming the grandmother of Nanima, but they feed more. They think the more they feed, the children will be more stronger. So this center is to bring the awareness and to make them the fit, not only in body, but in the mind and in the soul also. So we call it the Holistic Happiness Center. Holistic Happiness and Fitness Centers. Swami Vivekananda has said, have the muscle of iron, nerve of steel, and thunderbolt mind. Don't read Gita, don't read any scriptures, but go and play football. So that is, the health is very much essential for the life. So we aim that for all the help and the inspiring of all the people here, the center will achieve the mission to make the children happy, both by fitness, body, mind, and soul. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I request Dr. H.P. Kanoria to kindly declare the studio open.
So with all the prayers to Lord Hanuman, Mother Saraswati, Ganesha, and all the god and goddess of all the religions, I declare the center as open.
Thank you so much, sir. Now may I now request Mr. Luke Coutinho to kindly give us his discourse.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Luke. Okay, I work with fourth stage cancer patients, and I also specialize with other diseases, children, adults. So I think I was just trying to recap while Uncle was talking, the number of children that I've treated in the last 10 days. It would be anywhere between 30 to 35 who are diagnosed fourth stage cancer right now. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be sitting over here in a center with this philosophy, because more than hospitals, we need centers like this. Because over the last few years, an average week of mine, I see 30 patients, and the next week there may be half of them alive, fourth stage. We don't need more hospitals. We need more institutes that can plug the gap from where disease is seeping. There's no point becoming an adult and then fighting disease. Prevention is what we need to invest in. And that is what is lacking in our country, prevention. Prevention starts at a young age, where you shape the mind and the health of a child. You cannot let the child grow up to the age of 21, 25 with bad habits, and then when they get sick, you expect the human body to recover. But don't get me wrong, the human body is designed to heal itself. Even cancer, diabetes, thyroid, these are all lifestyle diseases. They are caused because we change our lifestyle. If we reverse our lifestyle, the disease goes away. I'll give you an example. If you get a fever, what's the first thing we do? What's the favorite fever medication in Chennai? Crocin, okay. Your body gets a fever. Because it is producing heat to kill certain bacteria and pathogens that exist. Natural response to something that can make us sick. But now we pop a crocin, and instead of the immunity, which is our natural body defense mechanism to bring down the fever, we are suppressing it with drugs. So immunity, which is our natural way of healing the body, now becomes weaker. Likewise, a cold. When a child has a runny nose or an adult, what's the first thing we look to do? Stop the cold from coming out, right? But the body is trying to push something out of the system. All the mucus, all that dirty yellow, green stuff that you see is the bacteria that the body is trying to push out to make you healthy. But we will sniff it back in, take the disease more in, get sick, and then take a tablet. And immunity starts falling. Diseases like cancer, diabetes, thyroid, these are diseases of the immune system. It is because our body's natural immune system has now become weak, so it can no longer fight all the viruses and the bacteria that exist in our world. And then we take medication, which further has a side effect of making the body weaker. So in today's fast-paced world, we have moved away from natural, and we are letting our children follow the same way. Because we want to send our children for more classes. I know children who learn football, dance, art, you name it, all in 1 week. It is not capable, it is not possible that a child's mind or body can absorb that much of pressure. Now the intention of the parents are good. We want our children to have a better life. We didn't have all this when we were growing up. Anyone did as much as the children do today? No. So naturally as parents we think we should do that for our children. But there was probably a reason why our ancestors and our parents didn't make us do it. Because we had more time, like Uncle said, to play football, to go outdoors, play, enjoy nature. Today, which child has time to do that? From one class to another, so the child's stress levels go up. Then children put on weight, children get sick, and it doesn't matter how much money you are spending on your child's education if you are feeding them the wrong food. I know parents who I spend time in Bombay City, okay, and you must have heard stories about our city, the amount of money that parents will spend to put children in schools. It's more for social status. Oh, my child is going to the Dhiru Ambani school. We're paying so many lakhs a year. Doesn't matter. You should look at the health of these children. You should look at the stress levels of these children. They're not happy. And what is the job of a child? To be happy. To grow with happiness so that there is natural creativity that blossoms in the child. But today as parents, when we make decisions for our children all the time, that you go for this class, you go for this class, you go for this class, the child has no ability to start thinking on his own. What he wants, what she wants, what he should do, what she should do. We should have had so many star football players by now coming out of our country. If every parent is sending their children for soccer classes or cricket classes or dance classes, but we don't, because it is not what the child wants. It is not what the child needs at that area of their life. Children have to be playing, enjoying themselves, learning spirituality. When I say spirituality, they have to learn more about how to manage their emotions. I'm with the University of Yale in the US, okay? We have people who are 100 times smarter than me. I've also studied at Harvard. I will tell you today I use 1% of what I learned. The other 99% they don't teach you how to live as a human being. They don't teach you compassion, they don't teach you kindness. Most doctors today, don't have time to diagnose your problem. In the olden days, they would ask you, they would try to find out why you have a pain, why you have a problem with your heart. Today, 2 minutes, prescription, gone. Which is why there is continuing disease. No one gets to the root cause of why you got cancer in the first place. Why is your cholesterol level high in the first place? And you will find out it is because of food or lifestyle. But instead of telling you to change your food and lifestyle, you're given a medicine. One medicine leads to another, and more complications and more diseases. So that is the state of the world. We also need medicine. But with medicine, we need wisdom to decide that medicine is not the only way to live. You have to change your lifestyle. If you are falling sick, your body is trying to tell you something. Something is not right. Either you are working too much, you're sleeping less, you're not eating the right food, physical activity is very less, or you're moving too fast in life. Sickness is a way of slowing you down, because when you're sick, you can't really do too much. And that's when human beings want a quick fix. Give me a tablet so I can get better and get back to my normal day. The sad part of this is, if we believe this, what is the hope for our children, which is the next generation? They will see us doing the same thing, and they will develop the same habits. The problem today is not with children. The problem is with the parents, with the adults. We are role models to our children. If we are not looking after our health, why should the child look after their health? And you cannot use aggression and rules with children anymore. We all know that today. You cannot tell a child, because I told you to do this, you do it. They will not listen. So we have to set an example to children today. And I think a facility like this can bring around a holistic awareness, because it's not only food. It is not only food. You can give your child salad and healthy food every single day, but if they are stressed in their mind, unhappy in their mind, the food is useless. It is useless. They will still put on weight, they will still develop problems, they will take the drugs and alcohol at a younger age. Because the void that is missing in their life cannot be filled with food. It needs to be filled with love, time that parents spend with children. Nothing can fill that void. Nothing. So a center like this can create that, which is why I'm so happy that we have a center like this in India right now, in Chennai, where children can benefit in a holistic environment. Exercise, mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul is even in adults. You can have a fit body, and I'm telling you, I have fit people who have cancer. Don't smoke, don't drink, eat salads, exercise every day, do yoga, do meditation. They still have cancer. Why? And then when we diagnose, in the mind, stress, emotional stress, work stress, every day. There is no time for the mind to relax, no time for peace. And when emotional stress exists, the immunity, which is the only thing that can save you from disease and cancer, gets compromised. And because of continuous stress, you have low immunity, you can have any disease, including cancer. Let me give you an example. In 1 second, I can say something that makes you all very, very happy. And you know how it is to feel happy. You feel a charge in your body, everything changes. And in the next second, I can say something that can make you very angry or very sad. In 1 second, I can change that feeling. For that feeling to happen, there are over 100 different chemical reactions that happen in your body to change from happiness to sadness. So imagine those changes are all related to immunity. We feel good, suddenly we feel bad. So that is what stress does to you. It compromises your immune system, which means at any given time, all of us are weak. Any disease, any bacteria, any virus, it can hit us, and because our immune system is low, it can become a disease. Look at children today. They're not growing. Most of the children, parents who come to me, children is not growing tall, children is not growing, they're not growing big. And when you find out about their lives, the children don't have time to grow because they're too busy doing everything else. Classes after classes, no time for rest. The child's mind is totally stressed. In London, a child doesn't start learning till the age of 5 because they believe the brain is not yet ready for that. And that's a very good concept. But in India, it's become the opposite. So if we need to think of our future generation, which is our children, the investment is right here. Mind, body, soul. And they're little changes. You cannot have your child eat vegetables every day. They will want junk food as well. The problem with junk food is it is designed to get you addicted. They spend most of their money on advertising, on coming up with tastes in the food that addicts you. All of you as adults, if I tell you right now, give up sugar for 30 days, you'll be happy? We are addicted as adults. We are. You open one packet of chips. Can you just take 2 chips and say, okay, portion control, now I want to eat more? Impossible. You will want more chips. Chocolate. Can you stop at 1 piece of chocolate? Very difficult. The second piece, because we're addicted. The mind, it's not your willpower. The mind is demanding more for it because it wants that taste. So if as adults, if we cannot control that sugar addiction, imagine what a child goes through from the time you give them sugar. They don't have motor and sensory skills developed as like us to fight it and to battle it and to understand it. The addiction starts from the day we give them junk food and sugar. That's why they throw tantrums. They want that taste. They are not being badly behaved because they want a product. They are craving the taste. The Western world has gotten everyone addicted to these things, which is why we don't have control over that. So the only way to control it is discipline, moderation. You cannot take it away completely, but moderation. So for example, if your child is physically active, is doing something for their health, then maybe once in a week, twice in a week, you can give them a reward. But if you're just giving it to them to stop them from crying, stop them from throwing tantrums, it is going to become more and more. And that's where the problems start, with sugar. The enemy is not oil anymore. Everyone used to think oil is the biggest enemy. It is sugar. Sugar feeds cancer cells. If you have cancer and you're eating sugar, you are feeding the cancer cells. Sugar is the reason most people have diabetes, heart problems. It is not oil. Yes, if you have too much oil, it also has its problems, but the enemy is sugar. And the problem with children today is sugar. Look at the amount. Little sugar is fine. When we were growing up, all of us had sugar. But we didn't have junk food restaurants around. Today, you look at the total consumption of sugar, it is too much for even adults. And that is why India now leads the world in cancer, cardiovascular, and diabetes. It used to be the US first. And it is going to get worse, I will tell you that. It is going to get worse before it gets better. So all the parents out here, I encourage you to start thinking holistically about your child's health. There is no point spending money on them if they are going to grow up into sick people. I know people who work their lives and they send their children to universities in the US. The children are sick. Childhood diabetes, liver problems by the age they're 19 and 20. What is the point of Harvard and Yale and all the universities abroad if your child is sick and cannot enjoy their life? So as much as you aspire to get them the right education, you need to feed them the right food. It is our job to shape their health. And I think what Manisha has over here is the start of a great revolution, where children can learn in a very holistic manner. This is more important than language classes and other classes. That will come at the right time. But this, you miss the opportunity of health, you may not get it back. You have no control on getting health back once it is gone. Your child can learn 5 different languages later when they're ready for it. The time now is to invest in health completely. And that's the message. I'm not going to go on about this. The simple message is your health is first. And I'll give you one more example. So my clients range from Bollywood to everywhere to the top 30 people on the Forbes list worldwide. I talk to all of them. Once they lose their health, they all tell me, it doesn't matter how much money we have. It doesn't matter because you cannot buy your health back. People with cancer will spend crores and crores. They have the money, they have more money to spend. Every possible treatment in the world they will go through, and finally the doctors will say, go back, enjoy your last few days in your country. Because health does not work like that. You cannot buy it back once it's lost. So on that note, I'd like to congratulate Manisha, everyone present over here today, and I hope the message of investing in prevention, reaches you very profoundly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The discourse was very enlightening, and I'm sure every one of us here would take the message back. As we have a little time, we on request, we're having a little interactive session, and we will take questions from the audience. If you have any questions for Mr. Coutinho, you could please put them forward.
Yes. So some children have a genuine problem which is genetic, but most children it's lifestyle. Inactivity, spending too much time in front of the TV, iPads, gadgets. They don't move enough, they're sitting more than moving around, and of course unhealthy food. Junk food like sugar, processed foods, every food that comes in a packet is processed. So all of these, because a child's body is growing, when it's growing it is also absorbing more than an adult body. And today children have, less activity. A child is meant to play, which is why babies, when they grow, after the age of 1 and 2, it's very difficult to control them because their natural element is movement. But then you distract them with a gadget and they sit. They'll sit in front of the TV for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So we are interfering with the process of growth. So then growth doesn't happen this way, it starts happening the other way. So obesity is mainly lifestyle, Genetic? I would say genetics plays a factor in anything, even cancer, 15 to 20% max. But mostly it is always controllable because even if it's 20%, we still have control over 80% through lifestyle. So even if there is an obese child, we can work on reducing fat percentage. Maybe his structure will not change. But as we reduce fat percentage, he starts getting healthier.
I always find it's not easy to make them exercises.
Exactly, you're right. It's not easy unless we make it a habit from the time they're young. It's very difficult to pull a child out later and tell them to start exercising. And when we say exercise is a vast subject. You know, it could be playing a game like Uncle said. That is activity for a child. Running around, you know, just playing is activity. What is activity? Exercise is anything that gets your heart rate up. So it is difficult with children, which is why the sooner we start, the better it is. Once they put on weight, then it becomes very, very difficult, you know, for the child to start losing that. Because as they're growing, remember, their minds are also growing. So if they're not used to it, getting a new habit into a child is a very difficult thing. So the sooner you start, and in small steps, very, very small steps, the easier it is to handle.
I just heard overfeeding a child before 6 years also can cause a child with obesity. Is that true?
Overfeeding?
Doctor? Overfeeding before 6 years.
Are you talking about breastfeeding or normal food?
Normal food.
Yeah, see, when a child refuses to eat sometimes, parents, especially in India, try to find different ways for a child to eat. No child has ever died of starvation because they didn't eat. When a child stops eating, let him stop eating. He'll be hungry, he may skip 3 meals in a day, but wake you up in the night hungry and then eat food. See, they don't have a schedule like us. They will eat when they have to eat. So overfeeding is also a very big problem for obesity. So when a child is not eating, sometimes it's okay to a particular age. After that, you need to discipline. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I have big problems with my wife also, because she thinks that way. The child has to eat. Even if my daughter doesn't eat for 3 meals, she wakes up the next day and she will eat everything else. It is their natural instinct. So I let her follow her own body. I will look for symptoms of sickness and loss of appetite. If it's not there, children have just different ways of thinking and feeling. So I would let it follow a very, very natural process.
Thank you.
Jaggery is much better than sugar. Much better than sugar. I can't say that. So I would say keep it to the minimum, because I can't say how much of sugar. It depends on your child's activity. For y'all. So if you're less active, you should be having less sugar. It depends on your activity. But things like jaggery, so it's okay. It's perfectly fine. It's not harmful. It's not harmful. Jaggery is a very good, it's India's natural sugar. You should use jaggery instead. That's okay, that's not a problem. I'm not here to scare you completely about sugar. Everything is in moderation. It is, no doubt, it is the main component, but I said overconsumption of sugar. Yeah, that's how it is. So that's a very good point. It's your source of jaggery also. If you get a source of jaggery, it has iron, phosphorus, protein, manganese, magnesium, so many things. What does white sugar have? Nothing. It only raises your GI level. But you get the bad jaggery, which is people make for commercial reasons and sold in volumes. It is not cleaned, so it can actually cause more harm. So I would always select a good source directly from the farmers or people that you know. I would take clean jaggery and use it over white sugar. But white sugar has no nutritional benefit for the body at all. So follow the Indian traditional diet, way of living. You cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong if you follow the Indian tradition. There's a lot of wisdom in the Indian way of eating. Today, if you ask me that question, I have a problem with vegetarian and non-vegetarian. Non-vegetarian, because antibiotics are pumped into the chickens, fish has mercury, vegetables have pesticides. So honestly, if you're vegetarian, it's good, keeps your system cleaner. You have enough of protein sources from beans and from lentils and nuts and seeds. Enough. You don't have to have excess protein if you're vegetarian. I'll tell you that much. If you're non-vegetarian, balance it. The important thing is keep your immunity strong. Because to handle those pesticides that are coming in through our food, it is only your immunity, your liver, your kidney that can help flush the excess toxins out. So your investment is always immunity. You cannot change the way certain plants are grown. You cannot change the quality of the air we breathe. So you make yourself stronger to handle all the toxins in the world, which is probably getting worse in terms of pollution. So. And aged very gracefully, very gracefully. So there's no call. I mean, people who want to enjoy non-veg, do it the right way. I mean, there are bad habits. A lot of people do non-veg and too much alcohol. Obviously, the body is going to get too acidic in nature. But today I have people from the Jain community who have problems that alcoholics have. It's no longer based on non-vegetarian and food. Sugar, alcohol. It is the main culprit. It is. There's enough of research to show that. Oil is never the problem. It is the problem if the wrong oil is used and overconsumption. Yeah. Exactly. So again, of carbohydrates. Yeah.
Affluent families, you know, children are not fed by hunger, they're fed by time. You know, many times, you know, you have so much of help around, maybe in the US or in UK, you know, because you don't have so much of, you know, help to delegate work to, you don't have time to do things. But in India, you know, children are fed by time. You know, even when the child is like 6 months old, I see women or mothers, you know, chalking down a schedule, and then they keep on, you know, every 2 hours the child is to be fed. And these children don't develop a, you know, a sense of hunger. You know, they don't eat by hunger, they eat by time. So they don't know when to stop when they eat. And that's why the appetite keeps on growing and growing and growing. And then when the stomach becomes too big, you can't actually tell the child not to eat. So of course, these are habits, you know, you have to catch children young. You know, so catch them young is what we're trying to say here, really, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of emotional, yeah, but that feeding, that emotion is positive. I mean, love, affection. But this is not that. You're just trying to be, you're oversensitized towards your child. You think that this is the only child. I mean, see the children all over the world. There are a lot of children who don't have much. How do they grow? Just because you come from an affluent family and you have all the means, you know, that child is extra special. Why is your child so special? I mean, but why that special thing has to be shown through food only? And believe me, a lot of mothers don't feed their child themselves. That's the irony. You know, you have maids doing that, and that's their duty. I've seen them, you know, like making like balls out of morsels of food and just shoving it in their mouths. And you know, sometimes these, you know, moms are not around, dads are not around. These maids sometimes they hit the children also. And out of their fear, they eat. So there are a lot of things, a lot of psychological factors here, you know, which comes into children when they eat. So it's a very complex science. You know, we don't keep things simple. Like in America, we say the KISS principle, keep it simple, silly.
Yeah.
But here we try to complicate everything, and that's what makes life difficult, and that's why we are here. You know, if you keep it simple, everything works. I mean, talking about food, you know, we see in today's time extremes in eating habits. Some people are completely health fanatics, and some people are, you know, complete junkies. So the moderation, you know, we as nutritionists, we always talk about moderation, and that's what is missing. You know, like we over teach our children, we want to do everything over or we don't. You know, and many times because you don't spend time with your children, you're a little guilty. So, you know, you try to do, you know, more things by taking them to malls or to buy them clothes, or whenever you want to actually, you know, show affection, first thing comes to your mind is food. Let's go and buy you some cakes and pastries or something. So, you are trying to pass on your guilt. You want to rectify what you've not been able to do for your child by giving them more food. So sometimes this overfeeding actually comes from the parents itself, and it starts at a very young age. We are bribed through food, we are rewarded through food, which is something which has to be, we have to consciously stop doing these things. Our kids are very special to our heart, but you can't just show affection through food. So, that's something which I feel is really important for everyone to probably understand. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
What health drink?
Like I would even say Complan, Boost, Horlicks.
See, I don't suggest it. We live in a country where we can add ragi to our milk and make it more nutritious than a Horlicks, and what the label says, what the company is advertising, but there's always something called bioavailability of all these ingredients. How much will the body absorb? I hope there's no one here from the food industry, because whenever I talk about
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, always. I spoke about Coke and Pepsi when the CEO of Coke and Pepsi in the US was at my own talk once. But yeah, it's okay. The thing is, keep it natural as far as you can. Just adding ragi to your milk makes it so nutritious. As simple as that. Keep it simple. If we start it before we give them the taste of junk and everything, which is obviously designed to be very tasty to the kid, they will take to it. A kid will even eat raw garlic because they don't know. There's no fear of it being spicy or that dirty taste. The kids' minds are like that. They will absorb. Very rarely, but once they see the parent making a face and eating something, immediately they will follow the same thing. Then they will pay more attention and remove all the green food from it happens. It's all example, all being a role model. There's a deficiency, sometimes it's necessary, because many parents today, they're normal children and it's a shortcut. Like she said rightly, there are no shortcuts when it comes to children. If we want them to come up, we don't give shortcuts in education, do we? So why food, the thing that is sustaining life? Yeah. Sunlight, exactly. Then they have to take a supplement because they have to grow.
Another day somebody was asking about the Horlicks, but there's too much advertisement for the corn flakes and wheat flakes. But I understand that this gift comes from adding the more sugar.
Absolutely.
Give your comment on that.
Absolutely. Most of the cereals add sugar. Whenever you buy a product, read the nutritional label. The first ingredient is the largest ingredient. So if sugar is the first ingredient, that means the product is primarily sugar. If sugar is the second ingredient, the product is primarily sugar. It is a useless food for your child. You're literally feeding him sugar, but the box has extra fiber. It will show one child running or a superstar or a Bollywood actress. It's all marketing. It is all marketing. There is no health benefits in all of these things.
You're taking over the food industry and the sugar industry both.
I would take on pharmaceutical as well, but I'll stop over here.
Hello, I'm Nimi, and I just wanted to add to something that Luke said. If you're reading the labels, sometimes it tells you about, most of the time, all these proprietary drinks, as we call them, they are giving you the values for 100 grams. And what you are putting in a glass of milk is only probably a tablespoon, which is 15 grams. So by the time you do the division, whatever calcium they claim there is in, it is totally insignificant. So it's all a gimmick. Yeah.
Hi. Hi, I'm Nandi, and I just want to add something. Just a contribute, not a question, that children generally tend to emulate their parents, and I came across my niece, who's much younger than me, who had her children recently, and I loved the way she was feeding her kids, and it was a learning for me. And she gave them an option. She put food on the table. Mind you, they are 2 and 3-year-olds. And she put food on the table. She put two, 3 vegetables, some rice, some bread. She lives in the US, so. And the children were asked to pick what they wanted. They did. And that would go on every day. Now naturally they are going to reach out, one would reach out more to fruits because the dad liked fruits and they were twins, and the other would reach out more to vegetables because the mom ate vegetables. So somewhere we tend to forget two very important things. One is that we tend to emulate our parents, and the other is that they can have a choice, which we don't normally give children. We don't give them a choice. Ad dal ye sabji banaya hai, bas yahi khana hai. So that is something to remember when feeding kids.
Yeah, it's not. Give them a choice of 2 instead of 3.
It can be spread between 2 meals also. It doesn't have to be in one meal. That's the thing, eating variety. That's something, in most households, you eat the same fruits and vegetables, it's just the 3-4 things which keeps on getting rotated. So we don't eat variety, we eat the same dal, we eat the same fruits, we eat the same vegetables. We have to create a variety so that you can, get the nutrition profile of all different kinds of fruits and vegetables. Yeah, I mean, so in the you have the whole week to do that. So you can do that through the week, through the month, through each seasonal. See, one thing which I always coming to supplementation, which comes to my mind is, when I was out of college and when I started practicing as a nutritionist, I was like all geared up and charged up studying that every food contains, whatever, like this is rich in this is rich in that. But over a period of time, I realized that a lot of people, they have all the good food and everything and then still end up with deficiencies. Because today the food which we eat does not consume what it's supposed to contain, because your food is as rich as the soil in which it grows. And Indian soil is quite depleted, of vitamins and minerals. So what happens is, what you think is there in the food is not there. So many a times we need supplementation, for that very reason. Talking about vitamin D deficiency, I had a patient who used to play golf, every day in broad daylight, and he told me that, how can my vitamin D be low, and I'm not going to believe you. And he kept on checking his vitamin D in most of the labs in Calcutta. And it went on coming lower because he was not taking it, and every time he checked it, it was going down. And I read a study which says that in India the pollution levels are so high that the UV rays don't reach our skin despite being out in the sun. So life has changed, a lot of things, like I believe in natural, but many a times you have to find the middle path. That's very important, it's not just about being very natural and, and negate the medicine. I believe, we have to marry both in this world. That's how things have worked for us. But otherwise, because we have so much other issues, if we're not practical about the way we deal with life, then, a lot of good things they are just big words and they just, get lost. So we have to, yeah.
I agree with Hina when she says that we've got to marry both of those. I think I'm going to do my session last, and maybe I'll give you some idea how you can marry both of those.
Thank you.
Hello? Yeah. I just want to know, have we done all that badly? I mean, our population has gone up. I think our children are doing better than ever than we did, at least Dr. Kanoria and myself. And are we making too much of a fetish of many of these issues? I know I belong to a much older generation, but I think there's something about the old adage that grandmothers know best in many of these matters. So I think the essential thing, as in everything else in life, is to maintain a balance. I mean, I agree when you said that some of you sort of shove food into somebody's child's mouth, it aggravates the situation. But I think we shouldn't overdo too many of these things either way. I mean, don't have sugar, don't have, well, I'm a classic example of a man who likes a lot of sugar, and I've survived. And so, my basic point is, in everything else, is I think we need a sense of balance. We need to be able to manage our present-day requirements with the realities of everyday existence. And of course, the whole complexion of the world we live in is changing by the day. So, if I might take on Luke, by the time he ends up, we'll have no industries left in the process, I think. So I think we need them. So I know I just raised that as a question, but I would like you to answer that question. Yeah.
Sir, I believe that you're staying well, and you're well into your golden years. Okay. No, the reason is also because I'm presuming that you spent at least 40, maybe 30 years of your life eating food that was really food. And that's not a luxury that kids have these days, which, you know, it was an input that actually has gone into what you're made of. And irrespective of how much of sugar, or if you're eating sugar in moderation or whatever that is, you've already had the benefit of eating something good, which either your grandmother grew, or your mother grew, or somebody you knew grew, or the farmers grew in a way that it should have been done. And which is what brings me to what I'm going to say at the end.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We can continue with the interactive session at a later point of time. We are privileged and honored to have amongst us His Excellency M.K. Narayan, IPS, retired. He is also the ex-governor of West Bengal. We are privileged and honored, sir, to have you amongst us. May I now request His Excellency Shri M.K. Narayan to kindly give us, sir, a discourse.
I'm sorry I'm out of my league here. I thought I was going to talk to the group of children, because the classes, okay, so I was largely addressing the students, or at least I was planning to address the students. But I came in, I think, at the right moment, when there was a major, I would say, conflict in approach on how one should address the issue, probably, of obesity. I presume that's how the whole issue started. And what I had in mind when I originally thought of what I would talk about is the fact that we are neglecting our true wealth. I mean, we hear so much about how our GDP growth is going up and how we are becoming more wealthy, we are becoming a major emerging economy, etc. And in the meantime, we are forgetting the true wealth, namely the wealth of the health of our children. And I thought when Manisha came up with this idea, I'd like to use a term that I used in Bengal, which brought me a lot of brownie points. I think the Marwari ethos and the father-daughter link to help children grow up into healthy citizens is, I thought, an extremely active. I went worse. I said if I was younger, I would try to marry a Marwari girl, which got, but it was too late for that. But I agree that what we do fail to understand is the importance of health and fitness. Not merely health, but I think fitness. And I think the combination of this iSpark nutrients is that from a very young age it would provide children an opportunity to understand the benefits of good health and good care. I was particularly impressed by Dr. Hariprasad Kanoria. When I was in Calcutta, the one icon as far as the business world was concerned, who had shed, if I might use that term, much of the worldly pleasures and worldly uses and had gone into the path of spiritualism. And I thought there was something very important in this, that you can't have health and fitness without having a spiritually inclined attitude towards life and the way you live. And I thought that the father and daughter decided one will be spiritual and the other would be more if I might say, robust and mundane. But I think it is important to combine the two, because if you don't really have, I'm being careful because I think these days if you say something you are found of having said something in excess. But I think religion and religious practices, whichever religion you belong to, is also a part of health and fitness. And I think a merely mechanistic approach to such situations can be in some ways counterproductive. I don't want a health and fit body if the boy does, or girl, as the case may be, does not have a proper understanding of what we face today. I mean, assimilation has been, I think, the high point of our civilization. And I think that we need somehow to interweave this into our health and fitness programs. Separating the two can be difficult, as can be counterproductive in my opinion. And my entire sort of train of thought today, unfortunately there are no children here, was to try to get them to realize that what is meant by the phrase aspire to inspire. Wasn't that thing? I know. I was trying to say that what do you understand by this turn of phrase? How do you achieve this? No amount of physical effort can it really inspire you. Or for that matter, can you start aspiring for the stars? I mean, we recently had the very unfortunate case of a student in Hyderabad University who wanted to be a Carl Sagan. I mean, I think that is the biggest tragedy. I mean, not merely the fact that he died, but there was a man who aspired for so much, or a boy who aspired for so much and could not reach the stars as he wanted to be. So, I thought today my message would have been, if the children were here, saying that while Manisha would provide you with the rigors of health and fitness, I think you should take a leaf from her father also, who has in many ways shown us the way. I don't know how many of you are aware of Dr. Hari Prasad Kanoria's many activities in Calcutta, which I think extend to many parts. I mean, he's an icon in Bengal and is a household name in Bengal, but I think millions outside also understand what he stands for. And I'm a great believer in what he says. He represents to me some of the finest attributes. I think he's a true disciple of Swami Vivekananda. And one of the things I want to tell the children is that in some ways, Swami Vivekananda, who also talked in terms of health and fitness, should be the role model that they had to follow. But they are not here, so I think much of what I have to say, as we talk to people who are all younger than me, of course, but that's a different matter. But what I want to say is that this is a great idea. I think it's a saga of love, if I might use that term. A love that is, I mean, without any kind of return, so to say. And I think we require more of this kind. I haven't seen exactly what you have it as part of the fitness program, but I do hope that we'll get fit and young children who become fit and young citizens and never go old. And in between, I hope they will imbibe some of the deep wells of what I would call spirituality of very kind, because I think the mixture is very important. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you a lot, His Excellency. You have rightly said that Swami Vivekananda believed and advocated for the health. So our mission of this center is have the muscle of the iron, nerve of the steel, and thunderbolt of the mind. So we are inspiring and more the mothers and grandmothers, so they can every time not just troubling them, but in their own way, inspire the children for making their health and body, mind, and soul, all the three things together. So that we have named it Manisa as Work Hard and Holistic Happiness and Fitness Centers.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lovely discourse and for the lovely correlation between various age generations and bridging the gap between the cross aged audience that we have here, sir. May I now request Mr. Luke Coutinho to kindly to give us. Sorry we had interrupted you in your discourse, and we ask you to please.
So I think to add to Sir's point about spirituality, so I realized a long time ago, just not with adults, but the importance of getting spirituality into children is so important. So in terms of religion, I completely agree what he says. Whatever religion you follow, it has a way of bringing you back to your center. And today we use meditation with fourth stage cancer patients. And I'll tell you why. It's not for them to find just peace in their life. But today, when any human being gives up in their mind, like a doctor says you have 15 days to live, the patient will die in 15 days. Because the patient's mind gives up. Which is why in the US, it's no longer legal for a doctor to tell you how long you have to live. They can tell the family for funeral preparations, but never the patient. So basically, the problem today is people are seeking happiness. And if you can't find happiness, you're unhappy. And then you're unhappy because you are unhappy. And that brings more stress in life. But more important than happiness is meaning. What is the meaning of your life? What is it that brings meaning to your life? Because happiness and sadness is always going to be there. Always going to be there. And I see people chasing happiness so much that when they have it, they're good. But when they don't have it, they want sleeping pills, they want antidepressants, they think they're depressed, but they're only going through a very natural emotion that everyone is born with, sadness. But we, by pursuing happiness, we're not teaching people that it is okay to be sad, that it is okay to fail, that it is okay to embrace sadness. So in a way, we're making our children weaker. Anything that robs them of happiness, as parents, we try to fix it immediately. Like she mentioned, we'll buy them something, we'll take them out, buy them an ice cream. We're literally trying to fill that void with materialistic things. But it is okay if a child is sad. It is okay if a child is angry. It is okay if a child is jealous. Because every infant enters this world with every single quality, bad and good. Have you ever seen a small child throw a tantrum? What are they demonstrating? Anger. Have you seen a child demonstrate jealousy? When someone's holding the child and the child wants to be held by the mother, there you go, jealousy. Have you seen sadness in children? Absolutely. Have you seen defiance in children? Where do they learn it from? They've not yet gone and mingled with the world to learn these qualities. Each and every human being is born with good and bad. And how we tame and channel each of those emotions is up to us. So allowing a child to get into spiritualism, things like meditation, I'm not talking about 10 days of Vipassana, but let a child sit for 10 minutes in silence is a big learning for a child. Because with an iPad or an iPhone where at a click you get an action, then in real life that's exactly what children want. We did an experiment at the University of Yale. Children who have used gadgets were taken to a farm. They were given an app which shows you a farm on an iPad for 10 days. And on the 11th day, they were taken to a farm. And within 5 minutes, the children were bored. And I'm talking age group of 7 to 12. These are children who can think. And when you brought them back to the classroom and you asked them questions, they were saying, oh, it's taking too long. On an iPad, one animal after another. The sounds, the name of the animal and everything else. You take them real life, the person who's taking them through the farm, explaining every time, they don't have patience. So that is where meditation will come, and to center your child. It is not for them just to find peace. It is for them to realize that life unfolds at its own pace, and we have no control over that. No matter how fast we think our money can buy ways of controlling and moving life quickly, we have to introduce that. So again, I mean, I'm so happy that Manisha set up the word holistic, because with holistic comes mind, body, soul. So when these three are married together, then you have the proper growth and development of a child and an adult as well. So even when a child falls sick or an adult falls sick, the healing is not up to the doctor, nutritionist, surgeon. The healing starts with the patient, how they look at their disease. If they believe it's a wasting disease and bitterness and resentment and anger comes up, the disease is going to consume them. But if they believe that, okay, my body's trying to tell me something, you start reflecting, you've been maybe moving too fast in life, no time for spiritualism. You know, you've lost control of life. Sickness is what slows you down. So when you change your attitude towards the disease, the healing starts there. Then the medicine works better. Then the food works better. So meditation, spiritualism is equally important in adults as well as children. And adults, I'll say, because for you to be a centered parent, you need to have a certain level of spiritualism in you, be it meditation, be it your way of finding peace. Otherwise, your child will not learn that from you as well. So Manisha, great job once again on practicing.
Can I correct here? Vipassana is not for all 10 days of children.
No, I was talking about adults, not children.
For children, we are doing Vipassana course regularly. I am a trustee of Vipassana. And we have altogether 186 centers all over the world.
Wow.
And we conduct children courses. Children are only have to do only 10 minutes Vipassana.
Okay.
So there are many centers where children courses are, and they are taught 10 minutes only for 10 minutes.
That's great. I mean, I was talking about adults. I've not got the courage to go yet myself for 10. I'll come for the child's course. Amazing. Okay.
So I know very well children get good benefit if they do Vipassana.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Yes, sir.
No, I was just wondering, again, I think it's a generational conflict or contradiction. Can you really get a child to sort of pray or meditate unless he does it in a home where he sees his parents and others doing it, rather than as one other course that is being done? No, I'm just asking the question because many of us came to our school where we had to come back and, you know, in the evening you had your bath or whatever it is, and then you sat down, and a lot of things, even multiplication tables seem to be part of prayer at one stage. And that's where you build. And then some stay the course, some are not so effective, which is a mistake, because when you face great tragedies, or at least major conflicts, this is what stands in your way. The problem is you're not able to do, because I have not been able to do it with my children, in the sense I couldn't get them into the same regimen because we live in a different world. But can these capsule courses help? I'm not very sure. I would like an answer to this question. Unless you do it in the, I mean, can you be an HP Kanoria by going through a course of this kind? I mean, I don't say achieving the levels that he has reached. So I think, do we not need to sort of get the family integrated into the whole thing, rather than look at these as separate options or opportunities that are available? I'm raising it as a question.
I agree with you. I think we discussed these points before, that everything starts at home with parents. If parents emulated the children will take to it better. But in today's world, we have to accept that parents don't choose to live that way. Parents are working together, so then a course like his fits that gap. Like she rightly mentioned, parents have servants to feed their children, whereas it is very important that the parents born to feed their children. So considering the world, I completely agree with your point that yes, it starts at home. It's with what the parents do in that family home. But in today's real world, that is not the situation. And unless we can change that, I think something like this, and I've heard about this, you all introduce it in schools, 10 minutes, I think it's a great start. And I think you have a great example of how your son basically, when he went for his first spiritual course, actually came and told her. Do you want to share it?
Basically, I've seen my father and my mother, my parents in the family, From a young age, my mother would just put on bhajans in the morning while we were getting ready for school. So it's like within us, like I would also put on bhajans in the morning when my son would get ready for school, and my father doing all sorts of things. So it was there subconsciously, which, as Luke said, it is there. You know what you see your parents, you emulate that. So that was very strong in our house, but it is not like that everywhere. I feel that that is the main reason I wanted that let children experience things like this. Since I have done Montessori, I could understand that how important it is for a mother during the pregnancy to listen to good vibrations and to be with good saintly people, you know, because that's what your child in the womb inherits. And like in all our religious texts, like you can see Abhimanyu and Prahlad, all these are examples, you know. So I had a great urge that how we can help the pregnant women, especially during their pregnancy, you know, to draw in good vibrations with doing meditation, doing chanting. You know, that's where it begins. We sometimes think, oh, once a child is born, we should do everything. I strongly feel from the time the mother gets pregnant, from that time we have to do a lot for the child. Of course, that is the first stage. The second, it goes on, yes, when your child is growing, like especially till 6 years of age, when their senses are at their peak, you have to do so much. And like Hina said, feeding the child, that is a bond between the mother and the child. Like when the mother is breastfeeding, it is a bond with her child which she shares. Similarly, when the mother is feeding the child, it's a bond which she shares. I have a small example to give about my son. A couple of years ago, he was telling me, Ma, why do you get angry? So I said, no, I don't get angry, Vedant. It's the anger within you which you see me getting angry. He didn't believe it. I am a pranic healer also. So I sent him for a course with my pranic healing teacher. It was a soul workshop. It was a 2-day workshop, after which I asked him, what did you learn? He said, Ma, I think you were right. There was anger within me which I saw outside. And I felt that, you know, when I could change him in 2 days, it's very easy to change children. They are very easy to mold. It's we as adults, we get very stringent, you know, and difficulty. Yeah, that is also another thing. And yeah, they become good parents, yeah. And another small experience, like he went for a small short retreat with my source, with my guru, for a 7-day retreat. And I feel there's a drastic change in him. He was in silence for 7 days. My father, I had to revolt against my father and send him, that I know he will be okay. But I see such a lot of change in him after the 8 days of silence. He's calmed down, he's peaceful. Okay, that's his, because he's inherited that every child can't go through. But small bits like what Uncle said, we can introduce if it's not there in the house. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this season, yeah.
No, I just wanted to, add on to, or rather answer a question that His Excellency had about encapsulated courses. Having come from the land of yoga, I as an Indian did not know any yoga. And I felt that I had lived about, probably about 40 years of my life then, maybe this was about 12 years ago, without knowing yoga, and simply because I did not have the opportunity to learn it. So I did send my daughter to an encapsulated course. And I said, as a mother, I think this is a duty, it's a gift that I have to give her. Now, whether she's going to do it every day or not, is up to her really, but I have to open her eyes to it. And since then, many, many years have passed, and she now does a very, very stressful job in market research. And she herself has decided that she's going to be a regular yoga person, because she knew what benefits it gave her that few months that she did it. And now she's extremely regular, and the yoga mat is no longer a prop or a bedside rug. So I think it's important that we expose our kids to such things without actually stressing them out. That, of course, is a difficult balance, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I request Mr. Vedant Raj Loya to kindly felicitate Mr. Luke Coutinho. As Mr. Coutinho would be leaving us, he's got a flight to catch. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Mati. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Sri Mati Dikshit. We are privileged, proud to have you with us, sir. May I request Mr. Dikshit to address us, sir.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. It's a great pleasure to know that a holistic development for children is being planned here. The development of child starts right from the time when they are being conceived in the womb by the parents, by the mother. There is a concept in philosophy how the child is being conceived, whether the child is conceived in happiness and how the child is being received into this world. So some of us are being conceived with lots of happiness and some of us are conceived with accident. And how each child is being conceived and received forms the foundation of child's fundamental framework of the mind. Since then, as per the Vedic ancient scriptures, we talk about how this mind starts developing, because most of the samskaras come from the previous birth. every child brings in a previous samskara which is ready to be nurtured by the parents. Many a time what happens, many potential good samskaras are never being addressed or nurtured, so it never comes out because most of the parents don't know that needs to be nurtured in a very careful manner. A little closer. Okay. So, and as every child needs to unlock their potential, it is the parents' responsibility how they actually start focusing on what each child is blessed with, because every child is very special. And if we are able to identify what is so special in them and start figuring it out, it's not an easy task for every parent to, unless they are going to be extremely focused, one may not be able to understand that what is so special about each child. And once that is being identified, that helps each child to be developed in a very unique fashion, designing their career path, designing their education, designing their physical and mental well-being, because we all are living through a very high stressful period. There's so much of stress outside in the world, and family also carries that stress, and a mental well-being can be unleashed only if there is a possibility of giving a focused attention to every child's well-being. It's great that such a center is being developed where the nourishment and development of each child is being focused upon. I wish this center all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Mrs. Hena Nafiz to give us, to tell us a few words. And
good evening to everyone. I think I've already started speaking. Well, I'm a consultant nutritionist from Calcutta, and I write for the Telegraph over there. And I've been seeing patients for the last 12 years, basically. And during the course of consulting, I started seeing a lot of children coming to my place. And a lot of parents came, look at my child, he's becoming so fat, I want the child to lose weight. Well, diet and dietitians are two things which most people don't like to meet or hear about, isn't it? We are the food police. Nobody wants to be told, don't do this, don't do that. We are seen like that. I mean, going to a dietitian means khana band, everything is over. Life is over. So it was a big challenge to actually make children eat healthy, or make them thin rather. So what I realized was, because I'm myself not a very rigid person. I believe in inclusive diet than exclusive diet. I don't believe in no's. I believe more in yes. Eating smart is what we need to do rather than not eating. Because all of us know that we like to eat certain things. Being a dietitian, I have my own weaknesses and preferences, which are not good. Because I was not born a nutritionist. I was born human first. So that's what happens when children used to come to me. I realized that being on a diet was a very tough thing. You know, how can you tell a child, don't do this? You know, the moment you say don't, it becomes a yes. It becomes a do for them. And I saw this practically in my own clinic. There's a child from a very affluent family in Calcutta who was caught stealing in school because he was restricted from eating certain things at home. He was caught with 80 wrappers of chocolate which he had in one night. You know, just because of the kind of restriction which he was imposed upon. So when, you know, the rigidity which we impose on people, or especially on children, you know, it's counterproductive and it's very, very negative. As what I said, you know, we see extremes of people today. We see either health fanatics, or we see people who are like complete junkies. We don't see real people. We don't see, everybody knows everything basically, because with the advent of the internet, you know, everybody knows. Nobody knows to, you know, everybody knows I know what to do. You don't have to tell me that. People come to a clinical person just to tell the person that, oh, I know. I mean, that's what I realized, that everyone wants to just show you that I know everything. So when you know why you here is, sometimes I ask them. Because, you know, as an expert, there is a scientific process of doing things. So when I started seeing so many children in my clinic, what I realized and what struck me was most children are like mini adults now. You know, they're fat, but they're not like podgy or like plump. They have a structure of an adult. They wear clothes like adults also. Nowadays, the way the children dress up. And they have a paunch. The abdominal adiposity. It's not the number of kgs which matters. Weight is just a number. It's the amount of fat which we carry in our body is what matters. God has not made us all alike, that everyone with the same height will have the same weight. We all different in our weight. Genetics play a very important role. We can't negate that. So what I realized was that these children, they had, huge bellies. They are just like adults. And looking at the abdominal adiposity, I became very curious, and I started asking the parents to go, to do some investigations on them, biochemical investigations. And many times parents would say, "Oh, why are you asking us to do blood tests? I just want my child to just, learn little few things from you." And I said, "Well, I want to see something. If you want your child to be cured, I need to do something about it." And more often than not, most of these children, and believe me, I'm talking about 9-year, 10-year-olds, who came back with very high levels of cholesterol, many of them were pre-diabetic, okay? And many of them had liver, very high altered enzymes in the, So that was something that was very, very alarming. And I realized that, how can one actually change these children's lives? And that's when I thought about a lifestyle modification center for children, which was just not about diet, but fitness, diet, talk to them about the screen time, how much TV, how much iPads, how much do they do of that, and how stressed they are. Because many a times what children eat is also because of the way they think. They get bored, they don't know what to do, so then they start eating. It's a very vicious cycle, you eat, and then, you become fat, and when you become fat, you're just sitting, and because you have such low self-esteem that, you're so stressed out all the time, people are telling you don't eat, don't do this, don't do that. And then because of that, they get more stressed and they eat more. So they never come out of this vicious cycle. So we needed a platform where we could actually help these children just alter their lifestyles in a fun, interactive way where it was not daunting upon them. So that's why I stopped giving diet charts to children. What I devised was a model where I bought in fitness equipment from the US, which are youth fitness equipment. Now many people would have reservations of fitness equipment being used on children because a lot of people believe gym is not safe. Gym is not good for children. But these machines have been designed exclusively for children. They have been customized for children because, as you know, today's children are very demanding. They don't want to go out and play. They want fancy things. And these equipments which I got from the US, is being used in most US schools. So they're extremely safe for children. So, because to bring in that fun element, because they hear their mom or the dad or the grandparents also going to the gym and they want to go there too. And then coming to the nutrition aspect, I thought of setting small goals for them rather than giving them diet charts. So we set them healthy goals and junk food goals, so that they don't find it overwhelming. And we slowly educate them and make them aware of why they need to do what they need to do. So that's how this whole idea of Nutrients Kids Fitness Studio erupted in my head in Calcutta, and I started one. And coincidentally, I met Manisha when she came to me with her son once, and she started talking about her passion for children and health. And that's when I told her, why don't you have one in Chennai? So that's how this iSpark and Nutrients Kids Fitness Studio came in together, to help children in Chennai lead a better life and to secure the life of children, because believe it or not, it's going to be a huge public health disaster if we don't do anything about it. I've done surveys in schools in Calcutta where I found 30% of children in a class are obese and about 25% are overweight. So that's more than half of children in one class who are not normal weight. And I'm not just talking about weight. We have measured fat percentage in children because it's the fat which makes you unhealthy. It's not about being overweight. It's about being overfat. It's a misnomer. The word overweight is a misnomer. What we need to see is how much fat you have in your body. When we accept a height, if I'm 5'3", even if I'm not happy with it, I still accept it. So the same way we have to accept our structure. Everybody can't be, very petite. Everyone can't be very broad. So structures can't change, but your amount of fat and muscle in the body is definitely something which we can work with. And as I said, abdominal adiposity is a huge problem. Abdominal adiposity means fat on your visceral organ, which means your liver, your gallbladder, ovaries. You must be hearing a lot of young girls getting polycystic ovarian disease nowadays. It is so much common, very, very common. And these are all lifestyle issues. Like in 1950s and 60s, with the advent of antibiotics, things like cholera and, all these infectious disease, they became, an old word. Something which nobody really thinks of anymore. But all that we are plagued with today is lifestyle disorders. And believe me, once you get it, you can't cure it. You can only manage it. So that's why I thought it's really important to have an avenue for children where they do realize the importance of these things. Because, see, when we were growing up, birthday parties were like birthday parties, There would be chips, there would be samosas, there would be a sandwich made at home. But today, birthday parties are like carnivals. They are huge events. You want to outdo the other person's birthday party, isn't it? Mine was the best. And in doing so, we create so much of paraphernalia where the child, it's all lost. The fun of a birthday party is all gone. Somebody else is doing the birthday party, not you as a mother. And then, there's so much food. And believe me, when you go to birthday parties, you will see children eating so much. When we were kids, we were scolded that, you don't eat. And, I remember when a lot of you must be holding, any party or dinner at home, you won't ever count, children as a head, that we are going to have so many people at home. Today we need to count the number of children who come home because they can outdo people when they eat. So that is what the problem is, we have to kind of inculcate the right eating habits, right lifestyles in children. And many a times it's a manifestation of stress which these children go through, because there are more nuclear families, parents don't have time. Even in school, there's so much competition. Every child needs to be perfect in everything. Should pick up all the different skills possible. Has to be good in language, good in sports, good in maths, good in science. So what you want from a child is 10 on 10. You will not accept a 6 or a 7. So this kind of burden is also manifesting on food. And as I said, if we don't, arrest this kind of social change which we are seeing, and it's going to be a huge public health problem for us in India. So in a country like India, where at one end you have so much food insecurity, you have so much, so much abundance of food in some cases. So bridging this gap, as I kept on saying, it's about striking a balance, it's about moderation. We have to bridge these gaps. I believe, somebody should start an NGO where people would, kind of donate, the amount of money they would spend out for a dinner every, once a week, what they spend for a dinner. Maybe that could go into feeding some other kids who don't get anything. Believe me, the same children, they get cakes and pastries, nothing's going to happen to them. But because our children eat too much of cakes and pastries, or too much of chips, everything's too much. People complain when they come to me as patients that, oh, my servant at home eats pound of rice, and look at him, look at me. I don't eat a thing and I'm so fat. Well, look at the amount of work he does. One small little, barfi or laddu is equal to so much of rice. So you have it in a calorie dense form, and that person just, eats, the volume is more. So that's what we tell people, eat, nutrient dense food and not eat calorie dense food. So there are a lot of small things which we need to look at. We actually, forget the smaller picture. We always want to look at big things. I had a patient who was, going for stomach problems all over the world, trying to seek, remedy for a problem. But a problem was as simple as constipation, which she was not trying to treat. So there are small things which we ignore in today's time, especially with our children also. So our children have the same problems as the adults have. I have seen cholesterol problems, I've seen pre-diabetes, I've seen liver issues, I've seen children with piles, I've seen all kinds of problems, there in children. And sometimes drugs have not helped because it's not a problem related to drug. Drug can only alleviate the symptom. It can't cure the problem. So we have to get to the root and to the bottom of the problem to, help our children lead healthier and better lives. And that's where this whole idea of Nutrients Kids Fitness Studio began. And I'm very happy to see all of you at the launch of, our center here in Chennai. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the lovely discourse. Now, may I call up Mrs. Geeta Krishna Raj, who is the founder and CEO of the Maverick Gym, to come and say a few words.
A very happy evening to all of you. Firstly, congratulations, Manisha, and thank you so much, sir, for inviting me here. It's a beautiful place, and from the bottom of my heart, I wish the venture all success. I'm a holistic lifestyle coach from the Czech Institute, USA, and I also have devised a program called Maverick Fit Kids, where we teach fitness to school children as part of the school curriculum from class 1 to 12. The main idea of launching the Fit Kids program was that we as adults, anytime when we even think of fitness or health, is only after we have come to a point where there is a slide, something reminds us that we have a body. Until then, we are not even aware that we need to take care of our health. If you went to the market and bought a new phone, it comes with a manual, and you take your time to read the manual, figure out how to use that device, and it takes a little while because we are not used to the new phone. Unfortunately for us, when this human machine was made, no manual came with it, so we have not really learned what it can actually do. We are clueless. But the same thing, you give a new iPhone to a 2-year-old. Today's generation is so smart that they don't need a manual. They just figure it out by, looking through it. They will do a few mistakes, but they're not scared to experiment. They want to check it out. And if health and fitness can be taught to them in the same way, where it does not have to become something that is a classroom effort, but something where you play with your body, you actually learn to experience your body right from when you are little. There are no taboos, and as she was saying, that even nutrition is not about a no, it is about a yes. That's what we do. We never say a no, we always say a healthy alternative. You have whatever you want, but ensure you have this also. You give them the positives, they will choose the right way. And being centered in spirituality, I think, is something that is part of their legacy, and I'm sure that is going to be such an integral part of the whole course here, something that personally I believe in as a very important seed that needs to be sown right at the time the child is born. And irrespective of the family background, I have found that, as Manisha rightly said, children are moldable. They can go back home and teach the parents. Let's not stop teaching them because we believe that the parents at home are not supportive. I think we should sow that seed right now. And wishing the entire team an amazing process of finding themselves through interacting with these beautiful lives that they're going to be transforming. Wishing the entire team all success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now may I call on Mrs. Manisha Lohia to say a few words.
Wishing a happy evening to everyone here, and I welcome you here to iSpark Kids Fitness Holistic Studio. I think this has been a beautiful venture for me for the past 2.5 years since the entire idea has been conceptualized, and I give the entire thanks to my father, who has passionately supported me to move ahead, and of course to Hina. iSpark is an e-magazine for children. It started off with the audio. It is an audio interactive magazine where the entire magazine has been recorded, because I feel that rather than showing children movies and exposing them to video games through iPad, through technology, how they can learn, it can become edutainment through this interactive magazine. And that's why I've taken the effort of recording it, so that even at a young age, as 1.5 years, 2, rather than putting on TV and putting on movies in the house, we can just put this on. Maybe 1 word, 2 word they can hear. You know, as I feel that even those 2 words, if they hear, something deep in their subconscious mind will go. So iSpark has been beautifully, the name has been given by my guru, and I feel that all children can spark, and like cultivating a devoted mind starts early. I feel it's very important that we should start it early. So that is a magazine which is, and it specifically talks about India. You know, children want to go abroad. I feel that it's just a myth to go abroad. Of course, abroad is good. Then it may be clean, it may be very nice, but still, we as Indians, we have, we are born here. So why not explore our own potentials here? We can go, we can learn and combine both, and again come back here. We have a lot to give in India, which is not there in abroad. So I have particularly taken everything, be it in career, and taken stories, because we have a vast, we have so many religions in India, which is not there overseas. I mean, if you go, you'll follow Christianity or one particular religion. Well, India is a land of diverse religions. And from each religion, we learn so much. Like each religion talks about love, compassion, humanity, everything. You know, we cannot say that Islam doesn't talk about this, Hinduism doesn't talk about this. Every religion teaches us about everything. And I would give a lot of credit to my father, because though we belong to a Hindu family, I remember during Christmas, we would be decorating Christmas trees, and we would be singing carols and cutting cakes. I mean, I'm talking about nearly 40 years ago. Now it's the tradition. Everyone celebrates Christmas. Everyone's house will have a Christmas tree. And it's just like a tradition, you know, it's just everyone is doing it, let me do it also. But my father actually made us feel that, okay, we should do Christianity also. We should go to a mosque, we should go to a church, we should go to a gurdwara. No religion is different. So it was deep embedded, and I thought in whatever possible way, if I can do it for children, that is where my passion lies, let me do it. So that is the magazine. iSpark, Holistic Happiness started with the tagline, Holistic Happiness is given by my father. So thank you, Papa. And Hina, I met Hina in Calcutta. And I was just talking to her about, I'm a Kathak dancer, so I was teaching children Kathak also, apart from my Montessori knowledge. And we were just sharing, and she said, why don't you start the kids fitness studio in Chennai? And when I discussed with my father, he said, it's a very good idea, because there's nothing like this anywhere, so you start off. And by God's grace, we've eventually started. So I'm sure we'll be able to integrate everything together, body, mind and soul. And I strongly believe with my father's philosophy of Swami Vivekanand, nerves of steel, muscle of iron, and minds like thunderbolt. And I will create that here. Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, now may I request Mrs. Geeta Krishna Raj. She'll be giving us a little discourse along with a presentation. May I call on ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
I think Geeta must be confused that she's been multiplied by 2 here.
That's okay, these things happen. So anyway, I thought I'd just start talking about it while Vedant is getting my pen drive ready. So first of all, I'd like to say how gratifying this is for me, because I've known Manisha for a very long time as a friend, and I definitely know that whatever she does with an intention of perfection, and that something good should come out of it. And I believe she must have got that from her parents. I know Mr. Kanoria has been very, very active in promoting holistic health, despite the fact that he's primarily a businessman, and many people who retire from business, it's the end of the road for them, but he's been continuing this kind of a message and spreading it among many Indians using his resources, his connections, and I think that's an amazing thing. So I'm also very happy to meet Hina, and I think the combination of Manisha and Hina will really bring Chennai something very, very good. And just to tell you a bit about myself, I've been a nutritionist for a little over 30 years and dealt with various things related to food and diet. On a personal note, I've been through the entire evolution, if you may call it that, of being a young nutritionist who was dishing out prescription diets. There were times when I would, you know, just follow the textbook and prescribe an idli to a Chinaman. Not literally so, but you can understand what I'm trying to say. By and by, I thought it was important that I individualize diets. When I did, it was mostly based on preferences, etc. Now, then further, you know, during my practice, I used to work out of a little corner in Adyar some time ago, and I don't see many familiar faces here other than Manisha herself, which means Chennai has moved on and I've grown older, and a whole new generation of mums are here. So I decided that what I had been told as a young student was mostly Western science, and I needed to kind of adapt it to in the Indian situation, which is why, you know, besides individualizing it in terms of preferences, I took on the Indian way of looking at things through body types. Now, just to I know you've had a long day, but very good speakers, and it's not exactly very pleasant to be the last one, but I'm happy I'm able to give you a pictorial presentation considering that you're all waiting for tea right now. Okay? So this is going to be very, very short. It's just 10 minutes. Please bear with me. Now, just taking off on two things that Hina and Luke said. You know, Luke made a comment that there is like very little we can do about the air we breathe and the soil or the way that plants are grown these days or way the food is grown. Okay? And then during the panel discussion, Hina also said we need supplements because our soil is literally dead. So, and I fully agree with her, depending on your situation. Now, these two things really got me thinking as a nutritionist. And many, many years ago, my husband and we were born and brought up in the Nilgiris. I was born and brought up there, and my husband went to school there. So we had decided our life's path, that we are going to finish with all city life and corporate life by the time we turn 50. And we saved towards that. Our daughter, fortunately, is independent, and we worked towards that. And we went away to the hills. Now, we were not very sure of what we're going to do there, but somebody told us rightly, you've got to come here and find out what you want to do. So both of us spent a lot of time in our alma maters. I spent 2 years writing a book for the centenary of my school, which is a coffee table book. So I had 2 years of research to do for that. My husband spends all his time running an alumni networks and projects office, raising money from alumni, and he's very, very passionate about alumni giving back to institutions. So essentially what I'm trying to say is we are both in voluntary phase of life, which sounds a bit mad to most people and sometimes to ourselves. Okay, so I've come from Kuno because Manisha is very, very dear to me, and I really wanted to be here. Now, what I would like to speak on is diet for a healthier child and a greener planet. See, the thing is, we cannot divorce the two. If you want a healthier child, the planet has to be healthy. And if you want the planet to be healthy, you have to have a child, yourself, and everybody else as agents of that change. I don't believe that we cannot do anything about the way our food is grown and what water we are drinking and what air we're breathing. Now, I will give you a typical example. See, Chennai has terrible water, if I know. We've lived here for 14 years. And a lot of the time we had to resort to the bottled water which comes in plastic cans. And I can tell you that it definitely plays havoc with the reproductive health of girls especially. And a lot of the time the polycystic ovary, etc., has to do with the kind of chemicals that leach out of this when they're lying around in the sun, etc. So to be realistic, is there something that we can do about it? Of course, all of us can do it. And I've always respected Chennaiites because sometimes when I wrote in the papers, I was always paranoid what the copy desk would do to it, because Chennai has a very, very intelligent readership, just like Calcutta would, and you cannot get by with just saying whatever, which is something that's not scientific. So I believe that Chennai really can help towards these changes in environment, especially because your minds are so fresh with the recent floods. And I believe we have to sensitize our children and grandchildren to what's happening with our climate, our world, etc. So can we go on to the next place? Yes. So this is the valley in which I was born and brought up. It's one of the largest valleys in the world. And in fact, my school is somewhere over there in the corner. And this is taken from my husband's school, which is up on the hill. Now, the motivation to go back there was really, besides the fact that we are children of the soil, and it is really that the Nilgiri ecosphere is a very, very important part of climate changes, etc., in the entire country. So it is one of the only, well-maintained, what shall I say, compared to Nainital, Mussoorie and all, there are still trees, and people are conscious that we need to maintain it that way. So whatever is done there will benefit the entire country. So we go to the next one. Yeah, once upon a time, like Sri Kanuriya ji said, we knew how to live with nature. Now these are the Toda tribes, and it's amazing, like in the last 6 months that I've been into this kind of work, I've actually learned much more than any formal university has taught me about food and soil, etc. So they had, now this is a Badiga village, wedding at the village. Now these were people who understood the land around them, the way they wanted to cultivate it, and then, when we were children, they did it the traditional way, which is now fashionably called the organic way, okay? Organic is just a word. That's the way we're supposed to be growing our food. And so because we've gone, we've kind of had challenges and, with pesticide, etc., etc., it's a huge challenge to get back the soil as a living soil. Right now, most of the soil that we have in India is dead. And this is something, besides thinking of your child's health, etc., etc., this is something that you have to instill in the child to think about, because this is his world. We've finished about 50, 60 years of, 40, 50 years of our life, but the child will have to, and it really frightens me what kind of challenges they're going to have in future. So, next please. Okay, so this is a little tribal village I work in. It was one of the projects, and this is a village in which it belongs to a Kurumba tribe, and these people were so much in sync with nature. It's when all influences, like us, I work for an NGO called the Earth Trust, and like Hina said, if you're looking to save on a birthday party and give the money somewhere, there's a place that you could go to. This is called the Earth Trust. That's only a joke, but anyway. So these people know exactly how to live with nature. They are the honey hunters of the Nilgiris, and honey is such an important part of keeping the ecological balance because of the bees. And the next piece. This is a little girl from that village, and she grows up on millets and honey and all the vegetables that her mom grows. There is not a speck of pesticide anywhere in that vicinity. This is a little village on top of a hill, and there are 20 households there. So yes, like the song says, no man is an island. Now this is a dandelion, flower in a biodynamic farm. This NGO has a couple of farms, and biodynamic, ways of growing food is really an amazing science. You can read about it. And there's a bee over there. I went to a strawberry farm, which was completely, a chemical strawberry. All those perfect strawberries that you see in the market, we've gone into a phase where we expect perfection out of nature, when nature actually has its own course. So you want apples to look a certain way, you want strawberries to look a certain way, and the way they're genetically modified and the way they are kind of literally orchestrated is very, very dangerous, because there's so much of pesticide in it. And so the people in the strawberry farm, they put a honey box into the the poly house where they were growing the strawberries, and they found that all the bees flew away, because the bees didn't like what they were putting into the strawberry and into the strawberry flowers, So we are losing all our insects, we're losing a lot of our birds, and like His Excellency said, we are doing well in many ways, but we're not doing so well in some other ways. So, and go back to the same. See, nature has this amazing way of providing for us in 10 kilometers of where we live. But of course, now we're a global kind of society, and we've moved out of our states. But just to give you an example, now this is something called helichrysum, which is a paper flower which is available in the Nilgiris, and you can infuse an oil out of this, and it's used for people who have body pains and all during the winter season. Now this is something called eupatorium, and it's, if you have a cut, the farmers who work in the fields, they have a cut from the mamati or something, they just wipe this leaf on and it doesn't get septic. Similarly, that is Brahmi, like all of you know. So we are losing all these plants as well with all the influx of genetically modified things. Now, this is again organic vegetables, yeah, which comes to eat local. We're so paranoid about deep fried stuff, that we get this apple that fell off a tree like 2 years ago in New Zealand, was waxed and sent to us by ship and lay in somebody's warehouse. Why? Because we think it's healthy. And you would not go anywhere near a chili bhaji, which was in this case being made just next to where the chilies grow. Okay, so we need to be locavas. Yeah. And see, a lot of the time I also thought that what I was, all these things are not practical, they're not realistic. But definitely I have found that we can do it. And these are again guavas from somebody's field, and the herbs and all that, it's an amazing thing. You don't have to tell anybody, you can blindfold somebody and give him a thing that has been grown without chemicals and something that has been grown with chemicals, and he can tell you how much, what it is. Now what can you do as citizens of Chennai, since you don't live near the hillside, etc.? I'm really happy to see that there are so many organic shops in and around Chennai. Now in the US, organic stuff is 47% more expensive than the regular thing. But we as Indians, we're lucky, it's only about 10% higher. So I know you go to the end of the world to get a certain brand of shoes for our kids, all that kind of thing. Just find the nearest organic shop, of course, check it out, see that it's a genuine thing, and patronize it. You as city people could patronize an organic effort. Like about 10 years ago when I was here, there was something called 24-letter mantra. The man was very early in his time into the business. But what happened was he had to close up and go. Now I'm so happy to see all his stuff in all the supermarkets, because the time is ripe now. So please patronize this thing, because if there's no buyer, there is no farmer. And if there is no farmer, we are creating cement out of the topsoil. I'll tell you what exactly happens if you're putting NPK or any of these fertilizers into the soil. You're just creating cement, or you're cementing it, because only about 5% of that big bag of NPK is actually NPK. The rest is a filler. So we actually help people to come out of the chemical thing and start growing organic. It is not as difficult as you think. It's not impractical at all. And once you vitalize about 9 inches of the topsoil with growing different things like navdanya and all that, anything you throw there will grow. And I've actually seen this happening. Yeah, this is lettuce that is grown by some school children, which is why I'm telling you, we have an eco club program which activates school children. We celebrate World Sparrow Day and all of this. Please send your children to a school which is sensitive to this kind of thing. I was so disappointed that one of the leading schools in Chennai, where everybody is queuing up for admission, has a pile of garbage, behind the principal's office, and everybody seems to be passing that way, and nobody is sensitive to that. So I think a lot of this begins at home. If we tell a child that it takes 500 years, which means his child's child will not see that packet of chips disintegrate, because it takes 500 years for a plastic packet to disintegrate. So if there's anything that we can sensitize our children, we're sending them for yoga, we're sending them for this, we're sending them for holistic health, we're sending them for all kinds of things. There is no health unless the planet is healthy. And this is a God-given gift. We don't own the planet. We are only a part of the planet. And that is a message that you have to give a child as young as 2 or 3 by teaching him little things that he understands. So I think this message is going completely over our heads because we are so preoccupied with so many things. Take him on tree walks, and Chennai is a place that so much is happening. Take him on heritage walks, take him on all kinds of things, or send him to these groups that are active. Even we will, if anybody is interested, they can even intern with us in the hills. Yeah, this is a school in the Nilgiris. We work with the more affluent schools, and this is very much like a KFI school. It's called Blue Mountain, where the kids have their own garden, and they pay us an amount which we use in the corporation schools. And yeah, this is harvest from one of our farms, which was completely chemically abused, and the person sold it to us as a song and said nothing grows here, you know. So we really we got a good deal. We paid hardly anything for it, and in less than a year we have the most amazing lettuce or all kinds of things. We get you know, we're becoming a seed bank and distributing to all the farmers around. So what we need from city folks like you is patronage. Please patronize all these places. Yeah, these are organic strawberries. Now this is in contrast, you know, because going back to our perfection rule, we expect everything to be perfect. Broccoli is good for your health. Or somebody said carrots are good for your health. Do you have any idea that one carrot will give you at least half a capsule of the most terrible poison? You know, nobody has, you know, because I didn't know till I actually went to a carrot field and the way it is washed and things like that. So going back to what Luke said, he said people eat salads, they eat antioxidants, etc., 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 but they still land up with cancer. Okay. Now, he said it was because of the mind. I agree with that. But I also think that a large portion of salad will carry at least one whole capsule of poison. Now we think committing suicide is a very, you know, it's a very frivolous thing. This is precisely what we are doing to ourselves, and murder is what we are doing to our children. To be very, very extreme in the way I'm telling you this, because otherwise it's not taken seriously. So like an uncle of mine says, well, you say all this, which means it's plain dangerous to get out of bed in the morning, you know. But that's not my point. Unless we have a group effort to support these kind of thing, it will just die out. And there are some individuals who are so passionate. My NGO is called the Earth Trust. It's not mine. I work with it. Was started by a woman who came all the way from England. Unfortunately, she was not an Indian. And she thought that the locals had lost all their traditional ways of healing. They were taking ibuprofen and most terrible painkillers for a small headache. So she felt that she needs to give them back their traditional ways of healing and their traditional ways of cultivation. And we have, you know, the Nilgiris are so beautiful, and I think all Tamilians, all people in Tamil Nadu, all people who live in this state can be very, very proud of it. But the fact is, there is a whole lot of, you know, behind all those tea leaves and tea plants, there's a whole lot of pesticide flowing down the hill because there's no labor to actually weed those things. So many people are actually pulling out tea plants and doing something else. So we have a whole village called Adigarati. We work in a lot of villages. We work in over 30 villages. And we can see that the incidence of breast cancer and you know, blood cancer are very, very high among the women over there. As much as there's no correlation study done, but that's a fact. And so going back to that packing thing, I'm not bringing it closer because there's a brand there. Everything so perfectly packed. It comes to a supermarket, the broccoli looks so well packed and all. But if you see the amount of pesticide that's given by drip irrigation into those things to make them come to a certain size and shape, you will not eat any broccoli or, carrot for that example. So I'm going back to the internship. If you know anybody here where young people are interested in this kind of thing, we could take you on internships, or just if you want to make a trip. If there's anybody in a decision-making capacity here in a school, you could spread the word, and you're most welcome to come and see how this whole thing can be run and how we can create living soil wherever we are. See, even if I may not manage to do much, but even if I manage to convert 1% of the soil in the Nilgiris over the next 10 years, I'll be very happy. So that was about organic food, and we don't have enough studies on what it's doing to you, because a lot of the time this information is being withheld because it doesn't suit some people. So please be aware that your child does not own the planet or the universe. He's only a part of the universe. So he's born into it in such a miraculous way, he needs to protect it. So please spread the word among your children and grandchildren. I think grandparents are a great lot to convey this message. So I thank you very much. And if you want more information from me later, after you've refueled with some tea, please do come to me. I'm very happy to help.
Now may I request Mr. Raghav Raj Kanoria to kindly, Mr. Vedant Lohia to kindly felicitate Sri Tattva Mati Dixit. May I also request Mr. Vedant Lohia to kindly felicitate Mrs. Nimi Joseph. May I request Dr. Raman to kindly say a few words to us.
Thank you, sir. I'm Dr. Rajiv. I'm a retinal surgeon at Shankanetralaya, and I have been in touch with the family. I had a couple of opportunity to talk to Manisha, and last visit as a patient, when I was talking to them, I realized that there is a lot of, I have 2 kids, and this was the first time I had ever heard that there is something called as a fitness studio for kids. And when I got this information, I thought I should definitely visit this place and see this. It would be a real value addition to Chennai, and I wish you best to have this successful venture. Thank you. Looking forward to visiting it.
May I also request Mr. Vedant Lohia to kindly felicitate Dr. Rajiv Raman. May I now request Mr. Vedant Raj Lohia to kindly felicitate Mrs. Hena Nafiz. Now, as we come to the end of the program, may I now call upon Mr. Vedant Lohia to kindly give us the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we come to the close of the launching of iSpark Holistic Happiness Fitness Center here in Chennai, it gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to all of you who have helped make this event such a success. On behalf of iSpark Nutrients, I would like to thank Mr. M.K. Narayanan, His Excellency, the former Governor of West Bengal, for gracing this occasion and for setting the tone for such an inspirational address. We would also like to thank the guests of honor, Mr. Luke Coutinho, Mrs. Nimi Joseph, and Mr. Tatmavati Dikshit for supporting us and participating in this launch and enlightening us by sharing their knowledge, expertise, and best practices. Our thank also goes to our distinguished partner, Nutrients, under the able leadership of Ms. Hena Nafiz, without whose support this launch would not have been possible. We thank Shri Foundation for the initiative and their support. We thank each and every member of a distinguished audience, especially those who've come from outside Chennai, by making time for their busy schedule to be with us in this initiative of ours. We also thank our good friends from media for coming to cover this honorable cause. And last but not the least, my sincere gratitude goes to all the colleagues and partners who have tirelessly worked for the success of the event. I would like to conclude by saying that without your help and support and knowledge, we cannot guide the future generations to holistic growth full of happiness. Thank you.
May I take a few minutes from you to introduce the team that will be here at the studio. May I call upon our nutritionists, Mrs. Mala Chetri and Veena. Okay. Please come forward. Mrs. Mala Chetri and Sabina. Okay. They are our nutritionists, and may I now call upon our trainers, Mr. Vani Kumar and please come. And Steve. Steve is also the center head, and he is an authority on Tai Chi. So this would be the team that would be here running the studio. Okay. Okay. Now may I ask Mr. Vedant Lohia to kindly to felicitate them. May I now welcome all our guests to visit the facilities, to see the center. And after this, it would be a pleasure if you could kindly join us for high tea.